guys, I come back. So today I wanted to do a quick review of my new phone that I got. So this is the iPhone 17 Pro, and I wanted to talk through some pros and cons that I've observed while I've used this. So I've had this for about a week and a half now, 2 weeks you could say, and yeah, some things that I observed and eventually get to whether or not I think I will be keeping this going forward. So for context, how we got here was the phone I used before this. I used a Samsung Galaxy A53, and it was trusty, it was reliable. Every single video that I've posted on this channel, I believe I filmed on that phone, so it really carried me through. I loved it. I used it up until the very end because a couple of Sundays ago, I woke up on the Sunday morning. I woke up and I reached for my phone only to find that it wasn't switching on anymore. It wasn't working anymore, and slight panic. But after that, I urgently needed to get a new phone, and I didn't want to get like another cheaper one that I would have to maybe replace later. And I wanted something that would be reliable, that would see me through for a few years. I did not want to be changing phones every other year because there's a new one or because there's something wrong with the one that I have. And so I eventually settled between either getting this one, the 17 Pro, or the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. And the main reasons why I decided to settle on this one is because I already have an iPad, which is what I'm filming on now if the video quality is not that great. So one of the reasons was because I have an iPad and I thought it would be a much more seamless experience using or syncing and working between the two, which it is. It's a great experience working between the two. And I also thought that coming from a Samsung and coming from having used Samsungs, I thought I might be bored because even though the one I had wasn't a flagship, the user experience is pretty much the same, and I wanted something different. And thirdly, it's orange. It's orange. As soon as I saw this, I was like, wow, I want that. I want that. It's so cool. I think it's beautiful. And apparently I do get distracted by bright colors, but unrelated, completely unrelated. So I decided to end up going with this one. So I have had it I got it last week Wednesday, and today is Sunday. So a week and a few days, almost 2 weeks. And I have some qualms about it, but there are also some things that I really, really enjoy about it. So firstly, I'll start with the pros. The pros, firstly, is that it looks good. This phone is really pretty. I don't know if it's the color or not. I haven't always been a fan of the iPhones. I was never really called too much to get one. So I knew when I saw this one and I was like, I want that. I knew that I mean, look at it. So it's pretty, it's premium. The user experience is great. It does feel really good. I love how like the navigation, the animations, the haptics that it has. I like the sounds that it makes, the little vibration. It just adds to the user experience, which I quite enjoy. I quite enjoy like navigating this phone and using it and all that. And then secondly, the facial recognition is great. Well, not great. I wouldn't say like exceptional or anything, but it's so good. And coming from my phone where facial recognition was basically useless, don't get me wrong, I do think that fingerprint authentication is the way to go, is the best way in my opinion. But because they don't have it, they have to make their facial recognition work really well, and I think it works well. It works at night in the dark. It'll see me, it'll find me. at certain angles it'll find me, not always, but most of the time, which I'm relatively happy with. I think it works really, really well. Like, I'll pick up my phone, it knows who I am, it unlocks it and all that using the tap to pay feature. It's great. I quite enjoy it. And then also the little features here and there, where the one, like when you take a screenshot, it gives you the option to save it to your phone, or you can crop it and send it to someone else, and then it deletes it, so it doesn't store it on your phone. You don't have like a million screenshots that you don't use anymore because you just wanted that one screenshot to send to someone, and you forget to delete it, and then it stays there and takes up space. So I love that. You can take a screenshot and choose whether to save it or not, or you can send it to someone and it doesn't automatically save, which is great. Things like when you get verification codes, it can, when you get the code and you use it, it automatically deletes it, so it also doesn't store um, random codes in your SMSs and things like that. I like that. It's a niche thing, but it's cool. It's cool. I like it. Another pro is Apple CarPlay. So this is not for this phone specifically, but just iPhones in general, and Apple CarPlay. I think it is miles ahead of Android Auto. I think it's so much better. The look of it, the user experience of it. I I enjoy using Apple CarPlay, so I mean that's a plus there. And for some reason, my phone, when it comes to these things, if I plug in an iPhone and come back and use my Samsung, it doesn't automatically recognize that, okay, now I need to change to Android Auto. But in the reverse, if I plug in my Samsung and then I come back and plug in an iPhone, it can automatically detect that, oh, now I need to use Apple CarPlay, instead of now me going to the settings and then switching on Apple CarPlay and switching off Android Auto, which I have to do with my Samsung if there was an iPhone plugged in before, which I'm like, did they do that on purpose? Did they do that on purpose? So Apple CarPlay is seamless. It's great. I quite enjoy it, and that's it for the pros, I think. And then onto the cons. Firstly, it's also something I noticed with the iPad is, why do we not have a clipboard? I feel like it's one of the most basic things to have. At least on the iPad, the keyboard has a little clipboard icon that the last thing that you pasted, that you copied, you can paste somewhere by pressing that button. By the way, I don't even think we can call it a clipboard, whatever this is, because it can only keep one thing at a time. It can only keep one thing at a time. With my Samsung, the stuff in my clipboard stayed there for what, days, weeks, months, until I don't know what erased them, if you like restarted the phone or something like that, but they stayed there. And it was so handy because if I knew that I copied something some time ago, I could go back to my clipboard and look for it and find it. But it's so annoying that this doesn't. I feel like it's one of the most basic features, and I do think that Apple might have done that on purpose for like security reasons, because you don't want stuff staying indefinitely in your clipboard. But I still think it's a bit of an inconvenience. Although security shouldn't be convenient, I do find it very inconvenient that we don't have a clipboard here. And on this phone, because the keyboard doesn't have the little clipboard button, you have to do the thing where you long press and then paste too, which is very annoying. I hate that. And then speaking of the keyboard, for lack of a better word, the Apple keyboard is stupid. It's stupid. It just has the letters on it, and then if you want numbers, you have to switch to a different keyboard. If you want your symbols, you have to switch to a different keyboard. The Samsung one had its letters, and then it had a row at the top for the numbers, and it also had another row at the top for all of your options like emojis, your clipboard, and things like that. and it still had enough space to do that. I know this phone is small, but it's still stupid that this keyboard is like, so when you're typing a password that has numbers and special characters, the amount of switching between keyboards that you have to do is absurd. I dislike how this works. And then also it's a niche feature, but Samsung had a little button, a little down arrow at the bottom of the keyboard that reduce your keyboard. Um, the iPad has it too, I guess maybe because it's a bigger screen, but this one doesn't. And so to reduce your keyboard, you have to kind of awkwardly find your way around the screen. You tap the screen, see if it goes down. You swipe it down, see if it goes down. You have to like try different things before it finally goes down, which is a bit annoying to me. It would have been nice to just have one way to get rid of the keyboard, but it seems to be different across the board. Like maybe if you're in Safari or if you're in WhatsApp or if you're in Notes, there's different ways to get rid of the keyboard, which does get a bit annoying for me. Another thing is with this app screen. Why are we still doing this? Why are we still doing that? Why do we not have a clear all button? Because this is so annoying. This is so annoying, and I do see people talking about it, being like, why don't we have a clear all button? There's so much space for this. Um, so I also don't understand. I find it very annoying that I have to do that. And then you'll find yourself with like a million apps that used to be open that you don't use anymore. I don't know if that uses any like RAM or battery or anything to have them open. I guess they do sleep, but it's not, I don't like that. I would like to clear everything without having to do it by myself manually. It is quite annoying. Lastly is the battery, which is the biggest deal breaker for me here, is that they called this battery revolutionary, and absolutely not. Not by any stretch, if I'm being honest. The battery is atrocious. It's terrible. It's so bad. And it's making me rethink keeping this phone, because we've seen the iPhone people, carrying around their little power banks, their little wireless charging stations. I should stop saying them because I'm one of them now, but I don't want to do that. I want to know that if I'm walking out with my phone, I can trust that, I'll be fine for the whole day, even maybe tomorrow. Not that like I can't go through a day without the battery, but for what they said it was, I am very much disappointed in it. I, yeah, I have no words. I have no words for it. So, and I've read up extensively on Reddit on Reddit about this, and people are saying, there's a difference between the Pro and the Pro Max. The Pro Max battery is much bigger, and it's also because some of the eSIM ones will have a bigger battery than the physical SIM ones, because the physical SIM takes up some space and yada 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 and things like that, which I'm like, yeah, excuses. It could just be Apple wanting people to just get the bigger phone instead of this one, which I don't think I want the Pro Max, and I'm definitely not willing to pay the extra, was it 5-6 grand just to get the Pro Max for the bigger battery. I'm not willing to do that. And we don't have the eSIM ones in South Africa. I might be mistaken, but the fact that there are caveats to how your battery works depending on how which phone you have and the features of it, which I don't like that. It does feel like Apple is trying to get people to get the bigger phone, which I'm like, no. So I think because of that, and even though I really, really enjoy using this phone, I like it. It feels good. It feels good in my hand. It is small. It's smaller than the A53 as well. The A53 had a bigger screen than this, but I quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy the camera is great. everything else about it is great. It's just the battery that is a huge letdown, and I've come to a point where I'm like, I'm probably going to return this. I'm probably going to return this, and my options are to either return this and get a new one because maybe it's my battery that's at fault here, because you get some other people's anecdotal evidence saying that the battery is great and whatever, it's the best battery they've had in an iPhone, which maybe for the iPhone people, they don't have great great historical evidence to compare it to, so maybe for them, but I don't know. So it's either I return this and get a new one and try that, or I return this and get a Galaxy S25 Ultra, which also I am not sure, because I know that in the S25 Ultra, the S Pen, they took out some of its Bluetooth capability, so you can't do some of the features, like the thing where you can use the S Pen to trigger your camera when you're taking pictures and all that, which I'm like, that's kind of the only reason why I would have used the S Pen if I'm thinking about it, because I already have an iPad that has an Apple Pen. I don't need another, bigger screen that has a pen and all that. So if it doesn't have that feature, what I really wanted, which I'm not sure, but I know that I don't want this right now because of this battery. So I'm kind of in a dilemma. I also don't want to get the S25 because I still think I would be bored with that. It just looks like a phone. So I'm kind of bummed that this is working out the way it is. I would have been much happier with it if things were different with this battery. But a lot to consider, a lot to consider. So that is my review. We'll see how far we get with this. I might possibly have a different phone um, in a few weeks. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time.